And at that time, everybody was talking about how Sing Sing's the worst place there is. There's no place worse than Sing Sing. So, of course, I'm going to Sing Sing.
How would max security inmates treat a new officer like yourself?
Officer said, "Count's clear." Poof. Fuck, blew up, man. Inmates are popping out of their cubes, jumping off lockers, jumping off their beds.
When did you realize there was a difference between convicts and inmates?
I had a lot of informants as a sergeant, so I developed a good rapport with some of the inmates. Like, they trusted me to do the right thing, so I used that to my benefit.
What's the most common drug in New York State prison? Randy Allen spent over 20 years inside New York's prison systems, not as an inmate, but as a man keeping order in chaos. From drug busts and hidden weapons to riots and investigations, this is what really happens behind prison walls. Randy, welcome to Locked In. Thanks so much for coming out here today.
Thanks for having me, Ian.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
I know you didn't believe it, but the audience does love the correctional officer stories.
Yeah, well, I hope they like correction sergeants as well, because that's what I retired as.
Yeah, I don't know if we had a correction sergeant. Actually, I think we've had like a captain that's above a sergeant. Yeah. I know each different prison. Some prisons are different. Like at the private facility I was in before I went to the federal area. They had like majors and different levels, but then in the feds, it's completely different.
Correct. In the State Department, it's the captain's 2 levels above the sergeant.
Okay. And thanks to your friend who pushed you to come on
today.
He
talked me into coming on here. He said I should tell some stories, and so, yeah, here I am.
Does he watch the show regularly?
He does. Yeah, he does.
And he got you watching it, too?
He got me watching it.
Hey, that's what it's all about. Like, the show has grown all because of word of mouth.
Well, you definitely have some interesting characters on there. You got some real dudes, though, I tell you that. And it's not hard to tell the difference. I did 28 years in the department. It's not hard to tell the difference between somebody that's real and somebody that's just blowing smoke up your ass. So,
have you listened to a story on the pod and you're like, yeah, it didn't happen, it's not true?
A lot of it I've listened to, and I'm like, nah, that's exaggerated.
Yeah.
But I guess this is all for entertainment purposes, though, right?
I think happens is there'll be some people, because I could tell like when someone's like exaggerating a little bit, and because I've heard the story before from someone else. And I think that's what happens. I think like they watch, they're an avid listener of the show. They come, they're excited to share their story, and they might gear it towards another story they had as if it was their own because they want the audience's reaction.
Oh.
So I feel like sometimes that happens. But like you said, you can always really tell who's a real one and who's a genuine one.
I'm not a very good storyteller, so mine will be short and a little bit confusing maybe at times.
That's what I'm hearing.
I'm not a good storyteller.
You'll be fine. Hey, you were just talking with Matty Ice about sports pretty well.
Oh, the Jets. Not much to talk about.
Yeah, and Matty Ice lied to you and said he wasn't a Jets fan.
Yeah, well, I'm the only honest Jet fan, I can tell you that.
He's secretly
I still admit it.
He was watching a Jets game in here the other day. Or, yeah, I think 2 weekends ago.
And no doubt upset and pissed off the way they're performing.
Yeah, of course. And the Giants, that game where they were supposed to win, and then I guess they totally fumbled it at the end.
The Giants?
Yeah, the Giants. Are you a Giants fan at all? Or?
No.
Okay.
No.
It's divided in this neck of the woods. It's
it
like
is. You're either
Jets or Giants.
Yeah, down here it's Jets or Giants. Yeah, up where I'm at, it's Buffalo.
Yeah, my cousins are from Penfield, Rochester area, so diehard Buffalo fans.
Yeah.
They go to the New York game with the Bills. And what was it, Bills versus Giants? Is that the game? Or Jets? I don't know.
On Monday night, they played the Jets.
Yeah, that's what it was that they won, too.
Of course they did. Of course they won.
Yeah.
Played the Jets.
Yeah. No, I'd say I'd lean more towards a Buffalo fan now.
I don't blame you.
Josh Allen.
Yeah, so was my girl. She was a closet Buffalo fan. I didn't know it. Well, we were talking one day because I'm like, you don't like football, right? When we got together, she goes, nah. I go, well, you're a Jets fan then. So we're watching Jets football all the time. She's a Jets fan as far as I thought. But all of a sudden, we were talking to another couple, and she's rattling off all these stats, Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen, this guy, that guy. And I'm like, you're a closet Buffalo fan. So,
I never really watched football until I went to prison.
Oh, really?
That's how I learned how to do sport. I never gambled on sports until I went to prison and watched basketball, football, and got into it and started to learn about it.
They're trying to make some money.
Yeah, I won a little bit. I lost a little bit though too, but it helped pass the time.
Gambling, yeah.
In prison,
risky.
Yeah. I would play dice a lot too.
Risky.
4, 5, 6. Yeah, I got myself into a lot of trouble. Yeah, no one is into it just for push-ups in there.
Oh, yeah.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in around the Auburn, New York area. Yep, just a little bit north of Syracuse.
What was your childhood like?
Childhood was good. I had I guess you could say, normal childhood. We weren't very well off as far as financially, but we had everything we needed. There was 10 kids, 10 of us.
10?
There's 10 of us.
Like same mom and dad?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, same mom and dad, 10 of us. I mean, my dad was born in 1910 and my mom 1923, so I don't think they knew what protection was. Protection, you know what I mean? When they had us, and I was just thinking about this the other day, I'm like, they had us within like a 20-year span. Because my oldest sister is like 75. I'm number 9 out of 10, and I'm 61, right? My younger brother's 56, so there's 20 years they've had 10 of us. So every couple of years.
What'd they do for work?
My dad was he was in World War II, and he injured his back, so he was on camp his entire life that I knew him. So he was hurt his back, so he just stayed at home and worked on the farm. We had a small farm with some animals, rabbits, chickens, this and that, sheep.
And your mom?
My mom was a home health aide.
Were you guys very close growing up? Family that big?
Very close growing up, very close to this day. We have our family group chat that we stay in contact, and yeah.
That's so cool.
Have our disagreements, but we're a very tight family, very tight. My oldest brother he would have been the oldest brother. He died when he was 8 hours old. So there was really 9 of us growing up, and there was only probably 4 of us at home all at the same time, maybe 4 or 5. So we never all lived together. We were spread out, but within that 20-year period.
What were some values your parents instilled in you guys as kids?
I was number 9 out of 10, so I don't think they even knew I existed. You know what I mean? Like, they were burned out. And I'm not saying this to be comical. I think they were just burned out. So my sisters kind of led the way in that aspect, provided for myself. I had really no rules, no regulations, but I didn't want to be an asshole. My father and I got in some arguments, and I was an asshole when I was younger, like every teenager, but I didn't want to be an asshole or a bad guy. So I stayed within the boundaries that I knew I should. But as far as, I guess, just to be honest, be loyal, be dedicated to your passions, I can take that from them for sure.
When you would see some of the guys that were incarcerated where you worked years later, did you ever kind of compare their childhoods that you would hear about it to yours?
No. I never felt unfortunate. I never felt like that I was ripped off of a good childhood because I was happy with where I was at. Like I said, we weren't wealthy, but we had everything we needed, and we had each other.
Did you ever wonder what went wrong in their childhoods?
And my friends?
No, and people that were incarcerated to end up where they were.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so you want to get into that a little bit, yeah. I sympathize with a lot of them. A lot of inmates that are in New York State prisons, and I can only relate to New York State because that's where I worked for 29 years, 28 and a half. And yeah, there was a lot of people that shouldn't be there. Absolutely. And there was a lot of inmates incarcerated that I felt bad for, but I'm not going to demonstrate that. I'm going to treat every inmate the same. But yeah, I know exactly what you're saying.
Did you knew you were going to go into corrections from a young age?
No, I wouldn't. No, I thought I was going to be a Major League Baseball player. But, I came from a Class C school. We graduated 103, and I was pretty good on the baseball team. But, in New York City, there's 1,000 guys like me sitting the bench, not even making the team. So, and you're competing against the entire nation. So, and even beyond.
Did you go to college for baseball?
No, I went to the military. My recruiter back then, and recruiters are going to lie to you. Anybody looking into going into the military, talk to guys that have been in the military because that's how you're going to get the real deal. And I didn't know anybody other than my father that was in World War II. So when I was being recruited, man, I was bought and sold on everything that recruiter was telling me. Oh, yeah, you want to go to college to play baseball? You don't have to. He goes, you can come into the military. We have a baseball team. He goes, you know about Army and Navy football? He goes, we got Army, Navy. Like, all right. I can serve my country, play baseball. I go, it's a win-win for me, man. No, I went into the military when I graduated high school, and I played baseball on a pickup team, and that was the only baseball I seen in the military.
Did you want to follow your dad's footsteps in the military?
No, it wasn't about that. It was just I felt like that's where I belonged, to be honest.
Mm. Did you think of anything ever other than baseball in high school, or was it just strictly baseball?
Yeah, it was baseball. Yeah, I didn't think of. I knew I had the military as a backdrop. If whatever reason, if I did go to college and failed at that, which I eventually would have, I knew I had the military.
When you left the military, did you end up going to college?
No, but I did try out for a semi-pro baseball team, and so when I was in high school, I was a pretty good ball player, and then I played for an all-county baseball team. And we had a 18-game schedule, I think it was. And we were a pretty good team. And I only struck out once the entire year. I was leadoff hitter. I played center field. I only struck out once. When I came home from the military, I tried out for a semi-pro baseball team. And during my batting practice, I couldn't hit the fucking ball, man. I struck out every time. I could not hit the ball.
Looking back on it now, do you wish you went the baseball route or at least tried to rather than the military?
No. No, I'm happy where I'm at. I'm happy with the career paths I chose, and I'm happy with my life and where I'm at. I did the right thing for me and my kids.
How long did you serve in the military for?
So I was in the military active for 3 years, and then I was in a Ready Reserve unit for 3 more years. And the Ready Reserve unit they don't have anymore, so it would just be a reserve unit. So Ready Reserve back then, I didn't have to go every weekend. I was just like on call. So if I needed to be activated, they would call me. I'd go into the training, whatever I needed, and then I'd be deployed wherever they needed me. That was my MOS, which was 36 Kilo. I was a tactical operations specialist. Now it's 36 Mike. For all you military guys out there listening, it's 36 Mike now. They moved it under communications. So I was only called once during the second 3 years, and that was it. So that was my military career pretty much.
How old were you when you were done with the military, like 24?
24. I went right into corrections because I was home for 3 years and still on call for the military. So I was moving on, right, getting my life together. I had a son, got married. And what'd you ask me?
The age, 24.
Yeah, I was 24.
Why corrections? How'd you end up there?
So I had a buddy that was 3 years older than me, and he was in corrections. Shout out to Kenny. So he was 3 years older than me, right? 3 years older than all of us. And we always hung out with this guy. And he had fucking money. Like he had a brand new Trans Am, T-Bird special. He had a Harley Davidson. He had everything. Whenever we went out, he would pay for everything. And he was a prison guard. So I'm like, that doesn't sound bad. I go, what's this job entail? And he talked about it and talked about it. And I was like, oh, it's good and bad by the sounds of it. Right? So he got me to go to this... it was a recruiting seminar, and there was a bunch of prison guards that were recruiting everybody around the Auburn area, trying to recruit them. So I went to this seminar, and I'm sitting there listening to these guys talk about the attractions, about corrections, and one thing stuck out, and I still remember it to this day. One of the recruiters said, he goes, it's 1988. He goes, in the 90s, everybody in New York State will either be a prison guard or an inmate. So I was like, well, I'd rather be a prison guard.
What was the pay back then? Was it good?
I started out at $19,000 a year in the academy.
I guess for back then that was decent in the 80s.
That was real good. Actually, $19,000 a year when I went in 1989 was pretty good. After 6 months, I went to like 20. Then after a year, it was like 21. I ended up making a considerable amount more than that. But now I think the academy now, once you enter the academy, is like $60,000.
Do you get your full pay when you start training, or does it like kind of evolve once you complete training?
Oh, you get your full pay at that pay scale. You start out at, like I said, $19,000. After 6 months, you get a pay raise. Once you get through your 1 year of probation, you get another pay raise, and then it's whatever the contract is at that time.
How different was training back then from what you've probably seen throughout your career?
I was in the military, so I could have done the corrections standing on my head. It was easy. Training for the academy, you mean? And corrections, it was not difficult. Only the mental part of it, a little bit, because the only thing I had to struggle with was the civil service tests. That was the only thing that worried me. And I got an 85 on it, so I was fine. But
do you think it's evolved, the training aspect of it?
I think it's got weaker. I think it's gotten weaker. You don't even have to do PT now if you have a medical excuse. You had no excuses back in 1989. You're going to do the PT. And now I think it's just weaker. I can't say for sure. I'm not in there, obviously, but...
This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this football season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. I've been loving Prize Picks lately. It's so simple to play. You just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and if you get your picks right, you could cash in. I could build a lineup in under a minute, and it honestly makes watching the games way more fun. Here's who I'm locking in this week. DK Metcalf, more on receiving yards. The Bengals secondary has struggled all season, and DK is an absolute unit downfield. Chase Brown, more on rushing plus receiving yards, with Jake Browning still trying to find rhythm at quarterback. I think Chase Brown's going to see a ton of checkdowns and short runs. Aaron Rodgers, more on passing touchdowns. The Bengals defense can't stop the pass, and Rodgers is about to be throwing darts all game long. I've already hit on a few lineups this season, and what I love most is how easy everything is. The app is fast, clean, and withdrawals are super secure. They've even got injury reboots, so if your player leaves the game in the first half and doesn't return, it won't count as a loss. PrizePicks operates in more than 40 states, including California, Texas, and Georgia, and it's hands down the best way to add some excitement to your football Sundays. So here's the deal. Download the app today and use code Ian Bick to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code Ian Bick to get $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. You've probably seen a lot of new guys come on over the course of your career and then talk about the training.
I did, yeah. Yeah, they talked about the training, and that's why I say it too. Is like it just sounds easier, you know.
Do you think that your military career helped you in your corrections career?
Yes, 100%. Yes, absolutely.
What do you think was the biggest aspect that helped you on the job? I know some like law enforcement officers, cops will say that people that came from corrections into it normally have a lot of skills that help them on the job.
I think what the military helped me most was being alert, being prepared, you know, being ready for the worst outcome possible, and being happy that that's not where it went. But yeah, being alert, being prepared, being disciplined, I think.
How long was the training?
For
corrections?
8 weeks back then.
Is it longer now?
Yeah, I believe it's 10 weeks.
Oh, they added an extra 2.
They added an extra 2. They added more, state regulations, and so yeah.
Where did you go after you completed training?
So when I completed my training in corrections, there was 3 of us that went to Sing Sing Correctional Facility. Right, everybody else went here. Some people went to a camp. Some people went to shock camps. Some went to minimums. Some went to Comstock. Me, my best buddy, and another guy went to Sing Sing. And at that time, everybody was talking about how Sing Sing is the worst place there is. You know, there's no place worse than Sing Sing. So, of course, I'm going to Sing Sing. But it didn't worry me. Of course, I was scared. I'm not going to lie to you and say I wasn't. Of course, I was. But once I got there, it was all right. You know, I did OJT. I think we did a week back then of OJT where you're with another senior officer, which isn't as great as it sounds because they send you off on errands a lot. And I can tell you that I was scared a couple times in the military, but the first time I was ever scared as a correctional officer was at Sing Sing. They had the main up on one side, the maximum facility. And down below that, you had Tapan, which was a medium facility. And connecting the two was a long tunnel. Right? And I'm on OJT, and the correction officer that I'm hanging out with says, hey, you mind running down to Tapan to such and such? And he's got something for me. You want to go grab that for me? I'm like, yeah, man. I'm trying to get along, right? So I'm walking down this tunnel, and it's probably 75 yards long, and it's coming uphill. And as I'm walking down there, it's empty, and all of a sudden the floodgates open. There has to be 150 convicts walking straight for me. I got no radio. I got nothing, man. It's just me and 150 inmates walking toward me. I mean, I can tell you today I would do that comfortably, right? It wouldn't be an issue for senior officers. But when you got 2 days in Sing Sing and you're dealing with that shit, it was scary.
Was that normal protocol for that to happen, or did it escalate?
Oh, I think it was, they were coming back from programs or rec run or something. I don't know why there was that many inmates moving back from Tapan, but there was. And I was right in the middle of them.
But they didn't attack you or anything?
No, they didn't. They just eyeballed me. I eyeballed them back. You know, short eyeball contact. You don't want to go above a second and a half. But that was it. Yeah, they left me alone. They could have killed me. I'd have been there for a week for anybody who knew it, but they left me alone.
What kind of inmates were housed in Sing Sing at that time?
Maximum security inmates. And they could graduate to go to Tapan. You know, once their levels, they became a lower level, then they could get moved down to Tapan. But where I worked in the main prison was a max. So they were all max.
How would max security inmates treat a new officer like yourself?
The convicts?
Yeah.
Convicts treat you with respect, man. They're just there to do their time. what I call the inmates, because there's a difference to me. Inmates will fuck with you. You know, they'll try you, they'll play their games, and you just got to learn the difference. You know, like the old-time convicts are pretty cool, actually. They just want to do their bid. They don't want no drama. They're just going to do their thing, and that's they'll leave you alone. But younger guys just want to play fuck for the most part. So that's what we had.
When did you realize there was a difference between convicts and inmates?
So I learned after I was off OJT, still at Sing Sing. I had the commissary bid on days. Well, it wasn't a bid. I was written into the commissary. And in Sing Sing, they came down to the commissary and they were held in a holding cell until their number come up. Till the commissary called their number 50, number 76, or whatever the number correlated with them. And on their bag, they had the numbers written on their bag of what number they were to be called. And so I'm at the commissary, and these inmates are in there peppering me, you know, they're talking shit, whatever. Oh, that's my number. That's my number. So what happened was I got lucky because the commissary called number 50, right? I don't remember exactly the number, but she called the number out. And this white kid's up here trying to punk me out. He's like, that's my number. For whatever reason, he knew whose real number it wasn't coming down that day because he wouldn't fuck with that. But he's like, that's my number, CO. Let me out of here. I'm like, that's not your number. And how I say I got lucky is when that kid walked in the cell for whatever reason, I looked at his bag and his number was 76. So I go, that's not your number. He goes, yeah, it is. I go, your number's 76, bub. And he goes, oh shit. The whole fucking thing the whole cell got quiet, the whole holding pen. So at that point I had no more problems in the commissary. But that was the difference between them fucking with me. The difference between a convict is I was down in the gym working one day, right? And I had a watch on. Games inmates play, man. Don't let anybody tell you they're stupid. They're fucking intelligent beings. I had a watch on, right? And these couple of young inmates, punks, right? I wouldn't call them that, but that's what they were. Come up to me, talk to me about my watch. And they go, is that one of them special watches? It's got something on the back of that. I go, I don't know, man. It's just a regular watch. He goes, nah, on the back of it, it's got an insignia or something. He goes, let me see it. Dude, I took my watch off and I fucking handed it to the inmate. And it disappeared, right? It goes from this hand to this hand to this hand, right? Like, fuck, all right. Lesson learned, right? A convict, one of the old-time convicts, where I learned the differences. He told the kid that had that watch, at that point, he goes, you give that back to that CO. He's no problem. He doesn't fuck with us. You give him back the watch. Took the fucking watch, put it back on. Call it a day. That's the difference.
Do they teach you in training how to gain respect by inmates or convicts? Or is that something...
How to get respect?
Yeah, or is that something you have to acquire on your own?
I don't think you can be trained to get respect. Do you, Ian? Do you think you can be trained to get respect?
No, I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either.
I think it works the same as like if you're an inmate too. It's not like it's something you have to learn and acquire on your own.
Yeah, I agree. I think you just have to learn it, and you got to be yourself, man. If anybody's going to the department, I would say just be yourself. Don't try to be a cowboy if you're not a cowboy. Don't be an asshole because you don't have to be an asshole. Do your job. Do it the way that you feel it in your heart and you know what's right and wrong. Just do that and you'll be all right.
So do you think there needs to be better screening psychologically then for some of these officers that are going on the job that don't have those characteristics?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think there does. There was a time recently where they were letting guys in without even taking a test. I mean, you didn't have to take a written test. You didn't have to take a psychological test. You were just signed up for it. And they were so desperate for staff that they were plugging them in, right?
I mean, I see the billboards all the time about how they're looking for correctional officers.
Yeah, they're low staffed. I think the screening need to be better. And I'm going to tell you that there was a period of time when I was in that a lot of the gang members in jail, and no disrespect to any of the gangs, but what they were doing is they were having their girls or their homies sign up to be a correction officer, going through the academy, and coming in and working in the prisons as correction officers. That's a fact. That was happening. So what we started doing is detecting that through, number one, their tattoos when they're coming through the academy. Everybody had to show the tats and shit that they had. And trying to weed them out. Because once you get your girl in there, right, she's bringing shit in.
Wait, but don't they have to sign like on the form saying they don't know on the application they don't know anyone incarcerated or?
Well, they ask you, and like they ask you if you know anybody that's incarcerated. That doesn't determine whether you get the job or not. You know, when I was in Sing Sing, I worked with an officer, and we walked down, and he goes, "That's my cousin's cell." He was a CO, right? You know, walking right with me. He goes, "Yeah, this is my cousin. I want to talk to him when I get a chance."
So when you discover these individuals that were kind of undercover, do they get fired and arrested, or just fired, or?
If they did something wrong, I mean, you know, at that point, you're not just going to say, "Hey." No, yet. I mean, if they did something wrong, it kind of, they weeded itself out. I don't know what that's like today in corrections. I don't imagine it's an epidemic. It started to be, and it became under control because they started monitoring that better.
How long did it take you to realize that you wanted to make this an entire career?
I mean, I got into it, so I'm not going to quit, right? So I think I decided when I went to the academy, I was like, this is it, man. I'm not going to quit. I wanted to quit a couple of times during my career, but this is it. I was in it. You know, I wasn't going to quit. So.
Were there other people that didn't make it that long that you were in the academy with?
Oh, yeah, yeah. We had them drop out because when you're in the academy, you go through a tour. Our tour went through Sing Sing, and people dropped out that day. Yeah, and so then once they get through the academy, they get assigned to like Greenhaven or one of these max jails. They drop out.
Do you think that Sing Sing lived up to the hype that people were talking about?
No, it did not. Because I remember, so I had to be on the road, so I was living in a crack shack with 12 other guys, right? Me and my buddy, he hooked us up. We're sleeping on the porch because they didn't have enough rooms for us. And I remember hanging out in that crack house with a couple of guys, and I'm like, man, if this is the worst prison in New York State, I go, I'll be all right because I kind of like this. You know, I like the energy. I like the atmosphere. Yeah, not the atmosphere so much. I like the energy. I like the way you had to deal with people and deal with convicts. I like that you had to be alert. I like that you had to pay attention. You know, I liked all that shit. So I was like, if Sing Sing's the worst, fuck, I'm going to like this.
What were the conditions for the officers? Like, say, like the break room, the locker room, bathroom, sleeping area? Were they? Because that's like an old prison, right?
I don't. Sing Sing you don't have break rooms for.
They don't give you a break room?
No, you don't get breaks. No, you don't get a break. You don't. And the bathrooms were the same as not the same as the inmate bathrooms, but they were cleaned by inmates. So, I mean, they weren't bad, but no, you didn't get break rooms.
Get a locker room?
You had a locker room up front. They were all right.
Okay.
All it was a room full of lockers. I mean, you didn't have chairs or furniture or nothing like that. You just put your shit in your locker and grab what you need. And we didn't have break rooms.
There's no lunch break or anything?
No.
So you have to eat while you're on your shift?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. You go in 15 minutes early for a pre-shift briefing, and then you do your 8-hour shift or 16-hour shift, or most recently in corrections, your 24-hour shifts. You don't get a break. Eat when you can.
What's the worst thing you could walk into on a shift, like during one of those briefings that they tell you about?
You have 400 inmates in the yard right now that aren't leaving. You have 250 inmates in the gym right now that aren't leaving. The mess halls are full, and the inmates are as quiet as a fucking bug, and they're not leaving. The hair goes right up in the back of your neck.
That happened to you before?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've had shit like that happen.
When was the first time that happened?
Probably when I was a sergeant at Franklin Correction Facility. Yeah, it was the first time it happened. The gym was quiet. And so I went down there. All the gangs are separated, like the particular spots in the gym. Like, this ain't good, man. So another senior sergeant figured it out, started pulling the leaders out and talking to them one-on-one and solving this issue, whatever it was, and got it resolved, and it was fine. But that was the first time.
Why will things like that happen? Is it just gang-on-gang issues, or do they have a problem with the facility?
No, something like that. If the gangs are separating in their own particular, then it's their issue, right? So drugs, gambling problems. Maybe you had somebody hit the wrong guy, something like that.
How do you feel about gangs in prison? And do you think the prison system could do a better job separating it and assuring it doesn't happen?
They can't assure it doesn't happen. I mean, gangs are gangs. They're going to be there. They're in our streets. They're in our schools. They're everywhere. It's going to happen. You can't prevent it. I don't think they should segregate them. No, I don't agree with that. What can they do a better job of? Man, that's tough because each gang is different too, what I've learned. You know, when I became sergeant, I became really involved with some of the gangs. And I can tell you that they're different in the way that they carry themselves, the actions, their actions, their responses, who's moving what, so how could you restrict it? Nobody has the answer to that.
Where do you go after Sing Sing, and how long were you there for?
So I was Sing Sing for 3 months, and then everybody wanted to go to Fishkill because you could swap. Sing Sing you couldn't swap, and what swapping is? You can swap. Like you work for me today, cover my shift. You're doing 16 hours. And I'll cover your shift tomorrow and do 16 hours, so you can have the day off, and then I can have tomorrow off. That's swapping. Well, that wasn't allowed in Sing Sing, so everybody was going to Fishkill because they allowed swapping there. So I went to Fishkill, which I regretted because I was stuck on midnights. That jail sucked.
It's not that far from here.
No, I went by it. It was coming down here. In fact,
they had like a riot or something there a couple weeks ago. I saw
riot?
On one of those Facebook news things. It was like the police scanners on Facebook group. There was a bunch of officers that got sent to the hospital and everything.
Oh, they had overdoses and things like that.
Me, I didn't see what the thing was. I just thought it was a riot, but it was COs that went to the hospital and inmates.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to look at that. Been on the road for a couple of days, so I haven't really seen anything like that. But
yeah, I just had a guy on the show that was the one that you watched, the guy with the hat, Anthony.
Oh, the Yankee hat?
Yeah, he was at Fishkill.
Anthony, yeah.
He faked a suicide or being mental health inmate to go over there.
Good for him. Good for him. Good move.
So you go to Fishkill and you're on midnights?
So I go to Fishkill and I'm on midnights, and that sucks, man. So if you're an inmate, you probably like Fishkill, but for an officer on midnights, I wasn't a midnight guy. I didn't enjoy just sitting there. So I jumped ship there after a couple months, went to Camp Beacon, which is a work camp. They had no fence around Camp Beacon. It was right at the foothills of Fishkill. So I went there. That sucked. And then I put my name on a list. At that point, to get back to Auburn, it took 2-3 years. So now I'm going to try to leapfrog. So I leapfrogged up to a Watertown area, and I was working at a Watertown correctional facility. And I got up there, and I was on nights. And, of course, when I get there, they put a freeze on transfers. So I'm the lowest guy in the jail for like 9 months. So I'm stuck on midnights, shitty dorm, J block. You guys that are ever in Watertown know J block. It sucked. So the charge sergeant got to like me. And I'm like, look, I know I'm the lowest guy in the jail. I go, but this sucks. I go, I don't want to do midnights if I don't have to. I go, does anybody else wants my spot? She goes, all right. She goes, you want to do the 4 to 12 chow hall? So now I'm working 4 a.m. to 12. Do that for a few weeks. I'm like, I'm not a complainer, Sarge. I go, but this is kind of worse. So she was a female. So then she puts me as a second officer because they were double bunked. She put me as a second officer on day shift in the reception dorm. That's one of the best places you could have if you're on a block.
Why is it the best?
Because you got another senior officer that's running the dorm. You're just there, man. Cover the walkway coverage, help him out with whatever he needs. And the reception dorm was, you got inmates that are coming in, they're there for a minute, then they're going off to another dorm. So if they're an asshole, you got to deal with them for a few days.
Would you see guys trying to smuggle out food when you were on that 4 a.m. to 12 shift in the chow hall?
Oh, food, yeah. They smuggle food, sugar packets, yeah, whatever. Whatever they're eating that day.
Were you trying to stop them, or you didn't really care?
At that point?
Yeah.
At that point, I really wasn't that familiar with it because I was still kind of new. So it was like, it didn't bother me. I'm like, good for you, man. If you, you know what I mean? Wasn't really no harm to it as far as I could tell.
What do you do on the midnight shift to keep yourself busy, to like not fall asleep?
Walk around. Just walk. Get up, walk, go back, sit down, get up and walk. I hated it. I wasn't a sleeper, so I couldn't sleep on the job.
Yeah, was there any action that late at night?
No, not a Fishkill. Not a Fishkill. Watertown there was.
So when you're when you're like jumping to different places, are you moving your family every time, or
No.
are you making that commute?
I'm making the commute. I'm staying in crack shacks wherever I can lock in. I did move my family up to Watertown because I figured I'd be there for a while. So I did move them up there, and we lived up there for a while. And then they had to do layoffs. Like remember I said they put a freezing on, so they ended up doing layoffs. And I had the opportunity to either be laid off or go back to Sing Sing. And I didn't want to go back 5 hours away. I just moved my family up, so I'm like, I'll take the layoff. So I was laid off for 9 months. And then when they called me back, they offered me Sing Sing or Altona, which is north of Watertown. So I took Altona and I went up there. They were a double bunked medium facility. I went up there, started off on midnights. Now, I've been off for 9 months, right? But I took a security job with one of the factories in Watertown, the New York State Air Brake. I did security there while I was laid off. I didn't want to sit around and draw unemployment, so I went to work. But I'm off corrections for 9 months, and my first night back up there, I get up there and I forget my keys in the fucking door. So I'm walking around looking for my keys. They're still in the door. But
Why were they laying people off? Or was there a decline in the inmate population?
well, I hired so many people. Yeah, there wasn't a decline yet. There wasn't a decline yet, but they just had hired so many people, and nobody was retiring. The 85 through like 89, even 90, 91, there were so many officers hired because we had 71 prisons, at that point. So they were hiring so many guys.
How many prisons are there now?
Right now there's 42.
Oh, they closed that many?
Yeah, there was 71 at the peak in 1999, early 2000s. And now there's 42.
Do you know what the workforce was back then compared to now?
No, I can't remember. I can't remember what it was. There were 76,000 inmates, I can tell you that. Back at the peak of it, there was a little over 76,000. Now there's like 36,000 inmates incarcerated in New York State.
So what happened to all those prisons they closed?
They're vacant buildings. They're just vacant buildings, and they're empty.
I know one they filmed Orange Is the New Black in, the one in New York.
Oh, did they? They did a show there?
Yeah, that's where they filmed. It's based off the Danbury Federal Prison, but they filmed it in New York. I think it's a town not too far from here. I think a couple hours.
Yeah.
I don't know what prison it is. I'm sure you know what it is.
Mid-Orange?
Maybe that's what it is. Is that a closed one?
I think so.
Yeah, we got to search that.
Otisville or Mid-Orange? Maybe? I don't know.
They have a federal facility in Otisville, too.
Yeah, I'm not sure which one closed.
Did you ever think about joining the federal?
I did. I thought about it for a minute, and then I changed my mind.
Why did you decide against it?
Well, I was already with New York State, so it was kind of pointless just to jump over to the federal. And once I retired, it was pointless. I didn't want to go back in.
So you're at this new prison when you got back after 9 months. Then where do you go after that?
So I went to Altona, and then I went to Cape Vincent Correctional Facility. Went down there as an officer, and they were double bunked, and they were a city jail. So they were Rikers Island inmates. The Rikers Island was in capacity, so they had 2 state facilities up north. They had Riverview and Cape Vincent. Took city inmates, so they're misdemeanors. They weren't felons in there at that time. So I went there. They were double bunked. In 1991, I believe, they sent them all back down to Rikers Island because they had room down there for them, and they closed us down as a city jail and converted it to a state-ran facility. Well, the state-ran. They converted it to state inmates. And then, because they did that, and then they were doing away with double bunking, I got caught up in that again where they were going to downsize. So I transferred out of Cape Vincent because I didn't want to go back to midnights. So I transferred out of Cape Vincent and went to a drug treatment center, Willard, which is closed now. It was the only drug treatment center in New York State that ran that way. It ran as a shock camp, but it was the only drug treatment center. So I did that for a while as a drill instructor, and that was fun. You get up in the morning, you do PT with the inmates. They're parolees is what they were called. So you did PT with them and ran chow, and that was a good spot, actually.
No,
I enjoyed that.
Double bunk means that there's 2 inmates in the cell?
Yeah.
So they got rid of that in New York State? Totally?
They got rid of the entire dorm being double bunk. They just kept the backside. So instead of 50 as a normal dorm, they had 90 when they were completely double bunked, and then they went down to like 60 because they had the back row double bunked. So there's still some double bunks, yeah.
And then they would have cells that had 2 people in the cell? Or?
No, they had no cells, and most of the medium facilities have no cells. They just have dormitory style. The only cells are a special housing unit.
Do you think cells are more dangerous or less dangerous?
No, I'd much rather work in a max jail. Much rather work in a max jail. It's safer.
For the officer?
It's safer for everybody, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of shit that happens there, but you got a place to go, right? And you got a place to keep them. When dorms go up, and they've popped off before, you're outnumbered, man, and it's not pretty.
When was the time that a dorm popped off for you while you were working?
It popped off on a afternoon shift in Cape Vincent when I was there one time. But I knew it was going to, and I remember letting the sergeant know, hey, man, there's issues down here. I go, you better get some staff down here because I got a feeling this place is popping. So they sent down one more officer, but there's 2 of us as double bunks, so the regular officer, me, and then they sent another guy down there. And it was so fucking quiet. We did the count. They did the 1040 count at night. And I'm like, oh, man, this ain't good. Did the count. As soon as the officer said, count's clear, poof, fucking blew up, man. Inmates are popping out of their cubes, jumping off lockers, jumping off their beds, chasing a couple of cats that ran out of there, trying to get through the door. So the other officers that they called down tried to stop him. They went right through him. Yeah, it was not good.
So what do you do in a situation like that?
You pull your pin, red dot 1, red dot 2, and get some extra help down there. At that point, in medium facilities, at that point, mostly when they see extra staff coming, will quell the situation on its own.
And are there consequences for the inmates for something like this?
That are involved? Yeah, they would go to the special housing unit for disciplinary sanctions.
Even if the whole unit has popped off, or do you guys find
the whole unit's? We had 90 inmates, right? So we ended up getting that situation. I think we took 5 out of there. We took the kid that ran after him, and then the other 3 that were involved in the altercation once they all got to the day room. And then the other ones were mostly standbys, but you only got 32 cells in the show, so you're going to pick and choose. You're not going to grab a guy that just stood up and ran or just stood up and screamed. You know what I mean?
How long were you on the job for before you decided to advance in the ranks?
So I took a sergeant's test early on in my career, and I did well on it. But then I went through a divorce. So I'm going through that. I'm fighting for custody of my 2 boys. So I got so much shit going on in my personal life that I could not take the promotion at that point. So I ended up waiting until they were off and good. I did 22 years as a CO, and then I did 6.5 as a sergeant.
Wow, 22 years as a CO.
Yeah. Yeah, and some of the things as a CO, you don't really have that much power, if you will, as a CO. You have to get that from a sergeant. So you really are dependent on good sergeants to make things work. And what I learned was that they were few and far between. We did have some, but they were few and far between good sergeants. So I just started swapping, and I picked up another job. I was coaching varsity baseball at the high school. I did that for 12 years. So at Cape Vincent, I would swap and just take 90 days off and coach baseball. And that's honestly, as a CO, other than doing my basic job, that's all I give a shit about, man. Just getting time off, coaching the baseball team. I'd still do my job when I was there, but I wouldn't go above and beyond.
So at 22 years, why would you even want to advance to that next level to take on more responsibility? Burned
out being a CO, boring, wanted a job change, and being a sergeant's a completely different job than being an officer. So I wanted that. I wanted the responsibility of it, and I wanted the action, and I was ready. So, I'd been ready, just had to wait.
Do you think a lot of officers get burned out?
Yeah, of course they do.
And do you think it affects their job?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely affects their job.
Now, tell us the process to becoming a sergeant at that 22-year mark.
So all you do is take a test, right? And if you do well on the test, then you go on a list, and depending on how well you did on the test is when you will be called. I got a 90 on the sergeant's test, so I was called within 2 years. So I took it when I had 20 years, and then 22, they called me. I took the promotion to Sullivan Correctional Facility, which is a max jail. So, yeah, it took about 2 years. All you do is take a test and then just sit and wait. Your jail will prep you, though. If you have some good guys at your jail, good sergeants, they'll prep you on how to run charts. They'll prep you on situational issues and how to handle them and things like that. But it's mostly just gut and instinct.
What was the biggest day-to-day difference from being an officer to then becoming a sergeant?
So I'm an officer on Thursday. Get transferred. I'm a sergeant now on Monday in a completely different facility I'd never been to. And the officer, and we had issues there. Sullivan was off the hook. We had issues there, and they're all looking at me. What do we do? That's the biggest difference is now you're in charge, and now you make the decisions. You have a lot of officers that you can rely on, though, that have been there, done that at that facility. But, yeah, it falls on you, man. That's the difference.
Do you think you had more respect as a sergeant because you had so much time in? You weren't like a brand new sergeant. You were someone with experience on the force?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. And I didn't treat the guards like shit. You know what I mean? I didn't forget where I came from. I didn't treat them like shit. I didn't have a power trip on them. Like some sergeants, and a lot of the younger ones, when they make sergeant, they think, you know what I mean? They treat them differently. It's like, well, I'm the sergeant. I told you to do this. I told you to do that. I didn't do that. least I don't think I did. If somebody out there called me out on it, but no, I didn't treat them bad.
What are your main tasks and focuses as a sergeant?
Making sure when you're a sergeant, you're assigned particular areas throughout the facility. You're just make sure that those areas are under control. Make sure they're operating the way they should operate. If you have any issues in those areas, you're the one that has to handle it. You have to make sure the cleanliness, operational procedures, inmate standards are being upheld. All of it. I mean, everything.
Now, something I noticed from my perspective when I was in prison was whenever the inmates had an issue, we would always ask to speak to the sergeant or the lieutenant. Would that be the case in your situation?
Yeah, that'd be the same case, yeah. If they had an issue, they'd ask to speak to a sergeant.
And when was the first time something like that happened?
Oh, I don't know. It doesn't take long, especially if you're a new sergeant. They want to chat with you. I can't tell you. I don't remember when the first time was for that.
How do you kind of stay on that line of, supporting your officers, but also if maybe the inmate has a, realistic claim or cause?
It's a very good question, Ian. That's tough, man. That's tough because you're there. There's no doubt you're there as a sergeant. That happens a lot more than it should.
Yeah, like there's got to be situations where the inmate's right, but it's also like you got your coworker right there.
So let me tell you the first time, and I'm going to tell you this little story, but the first time that happened to me where I had to side with the inmate. I'm at Sullivan. I'm a brand new sergeant. I'm at Sullivan, and I have the draft area to cover, right? So we're moving. I think it was 6 to 8 inmates. We're moving out of Sullivan that day. They're packing up. They're going to another facility. And anytime they go to another facility, they get strip frisked, right? Go into the holding pen, and then they go. So I'm down there, and I hear some commotion in one of the strip rooms. So, and one of the officers, Sarge, come here. So I hustle down there. I'm like, what's going on? This officer comes up to me, and he goes, he won't pick up his T-shirt. I look on the floor. Inmate's standing naked against the wall, number one. His T-shirt is on the floor over here, right, behind him. I said, the officer's like, he won't pick up the T-shirt. I'm like, okay. Now, I already knew this inmate. He's doing 22 years to life. He's jacked the fuck, right? You don't want issues with him, number one. Definitely not over some bullshit like this. So I'm like, so write him a ticket. I said, I'll take it with him to his next facility and let them deal with that. He goes, no, I want him to pick that T-shirt up. I told him 3 times to pick that T-shirt up. I go, all right, come out here and talk with me. I pointed to the other officer that's in the strip room. I go, get him dressed, get his cuffs on, put him in the holding pen. I take the officer out there. I go, dude, just write him up. I go, I'm not having an issue with this inmate. Write him a ticket if you want to. I go, that's where it's going to end, here. So then 2 days later, I'm on rounds, and this kid's working in the SHU bubble down in Sullivan. He's in there. I go, all right, let's see what happens here. So I go in, sign the book. He doesn't say a fucking word to me, right? I go, how's your day going? He just looks at me. I go, must be pretty good if you're not saying nothing, you have no issues. I walk out the door. He slams that fucking door so loud. He was pissed. So that's the first time I took the side of an inmate, and that's the result I got from the officer. But I never looked back. I'm not gonna deal with that for a T-shirt. The inmate, you don't have to pick that up, right?
Do you think it's harder to gain respect from an inmate or a convict, or is it harder to gain respect from a fellow correctional officer?
I'm gonna say probably even, man. Yeah, I think it's about even, probably. I don't think one's more difficult. You just be yourself and do your job. If you do your job, inmates are going to respect you, and if you do your job, the officers are going to respect you, the good officers. Some of them are going to be the way they are for the rest of their lives, right? So you got to bypass all that and just deal with the guys that got your back. Know you have their back, and they're going to respect you.
Now, is the sergeant also responsible for the scheduling and mandating overtime and everything like that?
Yeah, well, the chart sergeant is. So there's like 6, 7, depending on the size of the jail. There's always more than one sergeant, unless it's on a midnight medium jail. Then there's only one. But yeah, the chart sergeant does all the scheduling, jams you up for overtime, sticks an officer, which means if you're short of staff, you got to call an officer and tell them they're stuck, which that was the worst thing for me about being a sergeant, man. You call on a guy that's got kids at home. He wants to get out of there. He's been there 8 hours, burned out. You got to call him and tell him. So I would always try to do a little humor when I had to do it in the beginning. Officer Ian, I got good news and bad news. I go, what do you want first? He goes, give me the bad news. I go, the bad news is you're stuck. He goes, oh, man, what's the good news? The good news is I got no more bad news. Oh, all right, sorry, I got it.
What if they declined? What would happen to them?
Decline.
Yeah, you can't decline.
No, you can't decline. I mean, you go to the infirmary and say you're sick and play heart attack, or you could take that route, but you can't just say, nah, I'm not staying and leave.
I would hate a job like that where you kind of can't like have a life. Like if you have plans, what
It's
if it's like
tough.
your wife's birthday or something?
It's tough, man. People think, that's one of the tough parts about being a CO is, let's say you're sitting on a dorm somewhere. You're sitting on a 3 to 11 dorm in a medium jail, and you got issues at home. Your girlfriend's fucking around. Your kid's got a baseball game that night. You got all kinds of shit going through your mind, and you can do nothing. You can do nothing but sit there with your 60 inmates. You know what I mean? You got nobody to talk to. You don't have access to an outside line unless an emergency. You just got to sit there, and that's eating away at you gut. And, as a sergeant, you're the guy that's got to make that call and tell the kid, you got to stay.
Did you get mandated for overtime as a sergeant or no?
Oh, all the time as a sergeant.
Okay, so sergeants are open to that as well.
Yeah. Yeah, lieutenant would call us and say you're stuck.
Now, something I was curious about, how did commissary evolve from the 80s to, by the time you retired?
I don't think it evolved very much at all.
It was the same?
You could only have $50 sneakers when I went in. You could only have $50 sneakers when I left.
What about like types items, like, I don't know, types of chips? I mean, maybe it was different.
I don't know about any of that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't really watch their commissary purchases and things like that. I don't know. I just know the sneaker thing because I mentioned that to an inmate. I mean, he's wearing $160 fucking sneakers right down in the visit room. I'm like, hey, pretty good sneakers for $50 here, bub. I didn't care. Sneakers. As long as it didn't have air pockets and things like that.
What did you like more, being an officer or a sergeant?
Sergeant, man. I love being a sergeant. Loved it.
What was it about being a sergeant?
You had more say. You had more freedom to move around the jail. As an officer, you're stuck in the spot. You got the commissary, you're there. You got a block, you're there. As a sergeant, you can roam everywhere. You can go wherever you want to go. And you're in charge. And I liked that, at the risk of sounding egotistical, which I'm not. I'd like to be in charge of it because then anything that happened, I own it. You know what I mean? Instead of shit going south and you got no say in it. So I like that aspect of it. And it was just more freedom. It was busier, a lot more busier. But I like that.
Did you ever make a call as a sergeant that maybe you look back on years later and were like, I wish I did something differently in that moment?
Yeah, I have, of course.
What were those moments like for you?
Man, Ian, I was a sergeant for 6.5 years at 6 different facilities. I did so much shit. You're asking me for particular moments. It's hard for me to remember that. I've been out 7 years. But let me try to think of some. Okay, so I had an inmate that was going home. He was going home soon, and something happened with his pictures. Somebody fucked with his pictures, right? So I started the investigation. I looked into it, and my investigation led me to this particular inmate. I interviewed several guys, and the investigation led me to this particular inmate. So I call him over to the sergeant's office. I'm interviewing him, and I have a feeling that maybe he did it, and maybe he didn't do it. But it was more maybe he did it. I think he did it. I thought he did it. So I wrote him up, put him in the SHU, and then it was like a couple weeks after that, I was like, man, did I get that right? You know what I mean? You don't want to lock a guy up for the wrong reason, and he didn't deserve it. That one still sticks with me today. Did I get that one right? So that one stands out.
What was an inmate's story that you'll kind of never forget about?
As far as
circumstances or why he was there or just who he was as a person?
Why he was there? Well, I remember an inmate was, he was there, and I'm like, dude, why are you here? He was like 5'6" white kid that's as calm as anybody, right? Just going about his shit, very respectful. I'm like, dude, I go, why are you here? I mean, I can find out. I mean, you don't have to tell me. He goes, I'm here because I was on pain pills. He goes, I was a construction worker. He goes, I hurt my back. He goes, I got a family. I had to work. He goes, I got hurt, and it was back in the opioid when you can get them anywhere. He goes, I got hurt. I got on opioids. He goes, and one pain pill led to 2, led to 12, led to 15 a day. He goes, and I just got caught up with it. He goes, so that's why I'm here.
Now, when you were saying investigations as a sergeant, are you doing investigations off the bat, or is that a different level of being a sergeant?
No, I was doing it off the bat. No, not at first. The administration doesn't let brand new sergeants handle investigations, unless it's like a claim, package room claim or something like that, simple. But no, as far as narcotics, weapons, gang-related activities, no, they're going to call a more seasoned sergeant, if you will.
How does an investigation work from the time it hits your desk?
Well, okay, so I didn't do much as a sergeant until I got to Franklin. I went from Sullivan. I went to Sullivan to Orleans, medium jail, and then I went to Cuga, medium jail. And those two jails were so quiet, nothing happened. And I remember going to the captain. I'm like, Captain, I go, you got to give me some shit to do, man. I go, I'm so bored here. And my buddy of mine was telling me, look, he goes, you got to go to Franklin Correctional Facility. He goes, that place is off the hook. He goes, but the sergeants and the officers run that jail. He goes, you'll like it there. It fits your style. I'm like, all right. I went to Franklin, and holy shit, man, that place is fucking crazy. 1,800 inmates. They call it the Mini-Max. But another thing my buddy told me when he was talking to me to go in there, he goes, you're going to go up there and you're going to have the best sergeants in New York State to work with. And he wasn't fucking lying. These guys up there were so well seasoned as sergeants that they could handle any situation that come up in the facility. So I'm going to say that I learned from the best sergeants at Franklin Correctional Facility. They taught me how to investigate, how to deal with problems, how to handle every situation that arose. And, you know, and I was there 3 years, but after about a year, it's like I was not fearful of any incident happening that I couldn't handle.
What were the best things you think they taught you?
How to handle situations, how to handle them calmly, how to handle them efficiently, you know, what connections to make in the inmate population. I guess that's important. And I'll get into some stories where I'll express the importance of that. But they just taught me how to be ready for anything, I guess, right? And how to do the paperwork, because on claims and shit like that, you want to do them correctly. You want to make sure the inmate's getting justice, but at the end of the day, there's really no justice for the inmate on most of those because they're fucking gone, you know. And I'll tell you, when I was in Sullivan, I did an interview with David Berkowitz, the son of Sam, the serial killer. Do you know who he is?
Yeah, of course.
So he had a claim, right? And so I was handed that investigation as a new sergeant. So I went up and I interviewed him. He goes, I'm missing a book. He goes, I ordered this book. It's a religious book. He goes, it's showing that it came through the package room to the facility a week ago. He goes, so I'm filing a claim just to see where my book is. It's like, all right, I'm looking into it. So I go to the package room. Fucking officer sitting there reading that fucking book, right? So I'm like, oh, man. So I got it. I took it up to him. I go, look, I'm going to be honest with you. The inmate was reading it, or the officer was reading your book. I go, if you want to proceed this further with a grievance, I go, you have every right to do that, Mr. Berkowitz, but that's what happened. That's why you didn't have it this whole week. He goes, I'm good. He's a jolly old guy at this point. I'm good. As long as I got it now, I'm good. Thank you, Sergeant. All right. You know, shit like that. So.
Do you think most sergeants would have even told him that another officer?
No.
I feel like they would have just said, oh, it was stuck in the mail. It got a lot misplaced, and here you go.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean about creative paperwork as far as that goes. Like, right, I didn't want to put in the paperwork that I didn't want to throw the officer under the bus on that. So that's why I spoke to him and I wrote the claim up. I go, is this okay with you? And he's like, yeah, it's good.
Is he still alive?
You got to sign off. Yeah, he's still alive.
Okay.
They closed Sullivan. I don't know where he's at now, but.
They passed that law on him, the Son of Sam law.
Well, he went from the Son of Sam to the Son of Hope.
Oh, he renamed himself?
Yeah, he's the Son of Hope now.
Okay, because he tried to publish like that book and make the money, so New York passed the law.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I first found out about that whole case.
You can't benefit off your crimes.
Was he the only like famous one you were dealing with? Or?
No, I dealt with, so I've interviewed a couple serial killers. He's the biggest well-known. I'm not going to name the other one because he was with the Gambino crime family, and he was a hitman for them. I'm not going to say his name. He's still alive. I interviewed him. I never really interviewed Arthur Shawcross, but familiar with Arthur Shawcross. I dated his niece. And there were some other famous inmates, but not real. No, I don't think anybody that's real famous. Not like David Berkowitz.
In person, what are they like? Are they just normal people? Like from the way they interact?
The guy from the Gambino crime family, no, he was legit, man. He escaped one time, and so now he's at Sullivan, or he was at Sullivan when I was there. He was legit, man. When I talk about convicts, real convicts, yeah, he's one of them. You know, he didn't say a word to you.
What happens in the other prisons when inmates from a different prison escape? Like you were there when the escape at Dannemora happened?
I I just retired.
Okay. Were there any others?
Right? No, I just transferred from Franklin. I just transferred out of there. Yeah, a month before that escape happened.
So you were at that facility where the escape was?
I was at Franklin where they called out a lot of the officers. So I would have been on that search had I still been there. But no, I transferred out.
And does the whole state get locked down?
For a minute. Yeah, for a minute. They lock them down. They lock everything down. But not, I mean, they don't keep them locked down because you got an escape from way up north in Dannemora.
Did you watch that series at all?
Yes.
What do you think of it from your perspective?
The one that the actor did is Ben. The last one that came out that was on Showtime. That's good.
I didn't see that one. I saw the Netflix one.
Was that? Well, maybe it was on Netflix. I wish I could remember that actor's name. But that one's money. Yeah, that's on.
So you think it was totally possible of everything that happened, like that escape?
Yeah. Oh, fuck yeah.
It's kind of crazy, like how they just that from the meat to everything.
That is crazy, but I can tell you that happened. I can see everything that happened for fact. It's they're on the point with that.
Did they put new rules in place after that happened?
Yes. A lot of the policies changed in the Department of Corrections.
Can inmates still cook their own meat?
Some jails they can, some they can't. But a lot of the policies affected the officers more than the inmates, to be honest with you, because the officers used to cook in the jails. All their cooking utensils and shit got taken away. All this got taken away. We had, actually, I shouldn't say more policies. We just reinforced a lot of the ones that weren't as reinforced as they should have been. Mm. But yeah, they changed some policies.
Are there a lot of officers, like, or even employees that kind of are corrupt, like that woman was from the shop?
Not a lot, no. Of course, we have our corruption. Of course, we do. Everybody does, but not a lot.
Would you be on those investigative teams, or is that an outside?
I've done a couple employee investigations, but mostly that would be on the outside. Like I could turn, like if I knew an inmate was not good or an officer was not good, I could turn that over to an outside agency or to an OSI investigator that can operate outside. But I caught an officer with a cell phone in a jail. I'm not going to name which one. I took his job from him because he was bringing in pictures and he was letting the inmate use the cell phone. I'm not going to allow that. I know about it now, so.
Oh, he was letting the inmate use the phone?
Yeah, he was bringing his phone and letting inmates use, so I got him fired.
Is it hard for an officer to get a cell phone in?
An officer? No.
It's not like you guys don't have a good screening system?
It's not hard for an officer to get a cell phone in.
I always wondered.
It's really not hard for an inmate to get a cell phone in.
Yeah. Did you start to encounter like drones and stuff towards the end of your career?
I did not have any issues with drones.
It didn't really start to take off yet.
They're out there, but I had no issues with them. As far as I never seen them. And we did have drugs in the yard at one of the jails, but I assume they probably were dropped from a drone, but can't confirm it.
What's the most common drug in New York State prisons from your experience?
Synthetic marijuana, known as K2. That was the most common drug.
When did that
Suboxone was big, but now they give it to them.
When did K2 first start to hit the yard for you?
Probably, Sergeant in 2012. Probably, yeah, around, I'd say 2012, 2013 maybe. Started becoming an epidemic.
And was it coming through the mail, like getting sprayed on it?
It can come through the mail, come through legal mail, come through packages, visits, staff probably.
How did you guys first become aware of it?
So I became aware of it because when I was in a particular jail, the deputy security, we had a problem with K2, right? Inmates were flipping out on it because that shit's no good, man. It makes them crazy. They do shit they wouldn't normally do. They become extremely violent. Like we've had inmates run out of the dorm naked across the compound to other dorms. We've had inmates stand up and scream, "Fuck me, Jesus," shit like that. Like they're out of their minds, right? So we had that happen. I'm going to say it. I'll say K. Vincent. We had that happen at K. Vincent. And the deputy security came to me and he says, look, and he goes, I want to know where this shit's coming from. I want to know who's bringing it in, and I want it stopped. Well, little did he know what he was getting into because I looked into it. I went down a fucking rabbit hole, and every time you go down a rabbit hole, you find another one. You kick over a stone, you find another one. So the rest of my career as a sergeant, that's what I was doing. I was chasing drugs, weapons, gangs, shit like that. But when he asked me to investigate into it, I did. And I found the guy that was getting it in. I wasn't the only one because I kicked over another stone. There was more inmates, but he was bringing it in through his visit. His female visitor was bringing that in. Got that stopped, got that flow stopped. And then, of course, then you got other guys doing it too. So,
is there any way to fully lock down a prison from drugs, contraband, anything?
yeah, there is.
So
you can lock down a facility where the only way they can get drugs in is through staff. You can do that tomorrow.
But they won't do it that way?
They won't do it. And I'm going to tell you, I investigated drugs for 6 years, and I got a lot of drug busts. And I can tell you that the state of New York, the higher echelon, and some of them even inside a facility, want some drugs inside the prison.
What's the benefit of that?
Keep the inmates calm. Keep the inmates satisfied, which they're not wrong, So they want some flow to come in there because they could stop it tomorrow.
Why don't they just let them start buying marijuana on the commissary? It's legal in New York.
I may support that. I'm not against that. Marijuana is so much better than alcohol, in my opinion. I have always been an advocate for legalizing marijuana. I never believed that a guy should be doing that much time for marijuana. It's ridiculous. I didn't chase that a lot. I'll be honest with you. I didn't chase that a lot in the jail. I mean, I would rather than be on marijuana than anything else, than any other substance they weren't allowed to have.
Would you catch guys making hooch?
Oh yeah.
What did you see, like the process of how they made it, or?
No, I never seen the process, but I know it stunk. I've taken out garbage bags full of hooch and shit. Yeah.
Where would they hide the bags? When I was in prison, they'd hide them in the brick walls, like in the bathroom.
Yeah, they'd hide them behind the dryer in the laundry rooms. They'd hide them in there a lot. They'd hide them under the trash can. They put the bag of hooch in the trash can, then put another bag over it and garbage on top. Some inmates would just hide it in their locker.
You said you investigated weapons. What was the most common weapon you would come across?
A shank, just a metal wire, whatever length. Put a handle on it, tape handle or whatever. That's the most common. Razor blades, scalpels actually became big before I got out of there, but they're easy to get in. I caught some scalpels coming into the jail through the package room.
Like getting shipped in?
Yeah, getting shipped in through a package, from somebody on the street.
They were allowed to get packages from random people?
Yes.
Still to this day?
No, I think they've changed that recently. I think that's only from a distributor, but the distributor can be anybody. And the only way you come off of that distributor list today is if you get caught sending in contraband. Mm. So you can be a distributor. Anybody can, right? You're just a distributor until you get caught sending a contraband. And now you're not, but all you got to do is change your name and location. But
so how did you catch the scalpels?
So this particular scalpel was at the Cape, and I had some good informants at Cape Vincent. I developed a whole network of snitches. And one of my reliable ones came to me and he says, look, he goes, inmate so-and-so is getting scalpels in. He's getting them in a package probably this week, and it's going to be in the binder of a book. He goes, I don't know what the book is. He goes, but they're going to be in the binder of a book. All right. So I watched for it. Sure enough, that package came in. So I got an officer with the camera taking pictures of the process. And I had the package room officer go through it. He's ripping that book apart, and he's like, man, they're not here. They're not here. They had them fuckers buried good, but they were in there. He finally rips it off. He goes, oh, what's this? There's 3 scalpels in there. So it was right where the guy said they were.
Are there a lot of informants in prison?
I had a lot of informants. The way as a sergeant, so I developed a good rapport with some of the inmates. Like they trusted me to do the right thing, right? And so I used that to my benefit because they knew I'd do the right thing. And a lot of inmates in jail don't want drugs in jail. It's fucking dangerous for them. So I had a good network. We had 14 housing units, and I would make sure that I had 3 informants on every housing unit. I would make sure I had informants in the rec areas. I would make sure I had informants in commissaries. I would make sure I had informants in all the program buildings. I had informants everywhere, even the administration lobby, because they go up there to clean. I had informants everywhere, and if I only had one on a dorm, I would start shuffling and moving things around.
And how do these informants benefit? What do they get out of this?
Safety of their jail, really. I mean, that's about it. I think a lot of them, and I'm not so naive to think that the gangs didn't use me to take out their rivals, if you will. Maybe a Crip would rat out a Blood, to dime him out. Which I thought, why would I care? I'm getting the drugs. I don't care whose they are. I'm going to get everybody's, right? So I treated everybody the same. I went after everything. And some of the inmates, like I'm going to go back a little bit because OMH in the Department of Corrections, the Office of Mental Health, is so fucked up. And your boy there from New York used it to his advantage, which a lot of them do. And God bless him. I would too. But so part of the new restrictions on OMH came down, whereas, like, say you were an inmate in Rikers Island when we were 17, 18 years old. And this is a true story. I had this inmate come into Cape Vincent. He was in Rikers Island when he was 17 and 18 years old, and he tried to kill himself when he was 18 years old. Since then, he didn't kill himself. He got out of jail, went home, opened a business, had 3 kids, married wife, got locked back up for doing a skid bid, like 1 to 3 for drugs or some shit, right? And the administration wanted to put him in a suicide watch because he's 35 now, because all the time when he was 18, he tried to kill himself at Rikers Island. New OMH standards were that if you ever tried to kill yourself, no matter when you were reincarcerated, you were to be going on special watch until you could talk to an OMH counselor. So this happened a few times, and it's how I got really good informants, is they would come to me, and they're like, I'm not suicidal, blah, 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 tell me the story. And the lieutenants, I had a good rapport with them. Even if the nurse said, this guy's got to go on a special watch, they would still call me, hey, interview this guy, let me know what you think. I'm like, this guy doesn't need to go on special watch. He doesn't need to. Just put him in a dorm, let him do his bid, and get him out of here. That guy would become a good informant for me because I did that for him.
Were you ever surprised by who would become an informant?
Yeah, sometimes.
Like
sometimes
the guys you would never expect to be informants
become
sometimes. Informants?
Yeah. Yeah, I was surprised a few times. But I did turn informants down. Like, I wouldn't let them work for me for more than 6 months because I didn't want them to get caught. And out of all the informants I had, which is probably over 100, I had one hit. I had one hit. One was found out. So I wouldn't keep them for over 6 months. I would tell them, stop writing me, stop coming to me. I don't want to hear anything else you have to say. Go do your bid. I'm done with you. We're done. So, because I don't want them to get hit. But yeah, some would come to me, like, I was very surprised by a few.
Would you ever encounter correctional officers snitching on the informants to the gang leaders or anything like that? It would happen.
It's so funny you say that, man. Nobody would believe that. I told the deputy security, I go, listen, Officer so-and-so is out in the yard telling the inmates that so-and-so is my snitch.
I would see that in federal prison all the time.
Yeah, officers. Mm-hmm. Yeah, ratting out my rats.
Counselors would do that, case managers.
Yeah, I couldn't fucking believe it.
And there's no repercussions for them at all?
No, there wasn't in these cases.
So you kind of have to operate with the assumption that you can only really trust yourself?
Yes, absolutely. I had a few good officers. I had a couple of good sergeants with me that I could trust. But yeah, I kept that circle very small. That's how I got the nickname Black Ops.
That's what they called you?
Yeah, that was my nickname, Black Ops. Because I would do these investigations, nobody fucking know about it. Next thing they know, I got a guy hooked up in SHU because he was trying to smuggle in 30, 40 grams of K2. Like, how'd you know this? We didn't even know you were working on it. So I got labeled Black Ops. That's how I got the name.
How many investigations are you handling at a time? And how long does the average one take to close?
It depends on the investigation. Like, some of them are real easy. I can get them done in 10 minutes, find out what it is. Some of them take a few weeks, It really depends on the investigation. Depends on how good my informants are, because the bigger the investigation, the harder it is to get good information on that. You know what I mean? You understand what I'm saying to you? Yeah. So some of them took a while.
What do you think about the trailers in New York State?
I don't want to get off the investigation thing yet. I want to stay on some of these.
I know, but that probably ties into the trailers, right? Did you ever have to do I
never had to deal with the trailers.
Oh, an investigation.
But if you want my personal opinion, I think they should be more of them.
Okay.
Honestly, I think they should expand that.
I would have thought that was a good way to smuggle stuff in.
Well, they get stripped out when they come in. But, that would be a good way. But the visitors are checked when they go into those trailers, and the inmate is checked thoroughly when he comes out of them. I don't think they would risk that, because they obviously want them trailers, right? And if you do that one time, you're done. You're done for your bid.
Yeah.
So I don't think that was an avenue they were using. Maybe they were. I never had to deal with it because I wasn't at a place that had trailers, or I just didn't have to deal with the trailers.
What was the biggest investigation you worked?
Oh, there was several big ones. I'm going to tell you about the biggest one because I think it's still either the number one biggest drug bust in New York State Corrections, or it's at least in the top 2 or 3. So I got called down to SHU, and I had an inmate down in SHU, and he wanted to talk to me, which happened every day. 2 or 3 times a day, inmates wanted to talk to me. So I went down there. I pulled this kid out, talked to him. He's like, look, he goes, I don't know what's going on. He goes, but I know there's an inmate on such and such a dorm that has such and such a program that's getting a package. And in that package is supposed to be some drugs. I don't even know what the drug is. I go, what else can you tell me? He goes, he's a white guy. He's been on this dorm for 2 months. He's been in this program for the same amount of time. He goes, that's all I can tell you. He goes, but that's what I got. All right. So I went back to that dorm you mentioned. I looked up all the inmates that have been there between 1 and 3 months. Narrowed it down. First I went to the white guys. Narrowed it down to that. Then I narrowed down to the 1 to 3 months. Then I narrowed down that to the time they were in the program. And it got me to an inmate that was named, I'm not going to name him. It got me to this particular inmate. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to go to the package room because he told me he's going to get it in a package. So I went to the package room. I'm looking up. There's the inmate's name in a package ready to be distributed to him. So I'm looking. I'm like, that's got to be the fucking guy. I asked the package room officer, I go, did you call this dorm yet to come down and get their package? He goes, yeah, they're on their way. I go, all right. So that inmate showed up for that package, and I took him aside. I go, I want to take you down and I want to talk to you for a minute. I go, I'm going to put you in the SHU for a 72-hour investigation. I don't think they had that anymore because of the HALT bill, which we can get into. So I'm going to lock you up for 72 hours while I investigate something that may or may not pertain to you. And as soon as I can relieve you of that, I will. So I took him down. I interviewed him. He wasn't giving me much information. He was a pretty solid mule for the guy that was actually getting him in. So then I went back up to the package. I opened up the package, and there was a carton of Newport cigarettes. I opened the first one. It's packed with K2. I'm like, holy fuck. I opened the next one, packed with K2. All of them were packed with K2. It ended up being 262 grams of synthetic marijuana. So I was like, all right. So I kept investigating, and I was with the OSI investigation team that I got a hold of my favorite investigator. I said, look, this is what I got. She goes, all right, keep looking into it. She goes, try to find out who the guy on the street is that sent that in, because it was under a false name and address, of course. All right, so I fucking found out. I found out who the guy on the street was. So then looked into his phone contacts. So then I started tapping in whatever phone calls came from that number that guy in the street had, and it linked me to this particular inmate. So I called an informant from that dorm, another reliable informant. I said, yeah, that's the guy. That's the guy you're looking for. I said, all right. So I told my OSI girl, who on the street was. They went and picked him up. He gave up everything. He said it took him 10 hours to pack them fucking cigarettes. He worked on it for 10 hours. They were the same weight as a pack of cigarettes. It was a very good job. Very good job. So then I started tapping into the guy that I knew that solicited him to the jail. I listened to his phone calls, and he couldn't fucking believe he got caught. He's like, this network of snitches you got around here is fucking crazy. But these code words like horse and shit like that. The horse didn't come in, shit like that. So that was a good one. That took a while. That took a long time. But the kid on the street ended up getting a bid, and the guy that was locked up ended up getting more time added.
How do you guys decide what to send for further charges for an arrest?
That's up to the district attorney.
And you guys refer every drug bust?
No.
Okay.
No, not every drug bust.
So you guys have some discretion of what you're going to kick up there?
Yeah, usually the quantity. Usually the quantity of it. If it's marijuana, you don't. K2 is so dangerous. I didn't want that in my jail. Suboxone was a contraband that I didn't really know the effects it would have on people. I know it was similar to heroin. It brings people off of heroin. I didn't want that in my jail. I didn't want heroin. I didn't want coke, crack, none of that shit. So I chased all that.
What do you think was the wildest thing you've heard on a phone call from the prison?
Phone sex between two men. That's a click. You don't need to listen to that. Just the way they talk to their women, man. Some of the inmates that are trying to get this stuff in, you know, they paid like they'd talk to the people on the street that are bringing it in, and a lot of times they would just hire girls from the street. They make $200 a day to drive up from New York to smuggle shit in. So a lot of the conversations were that, the way they're talking to them. But they always used code words. Like they used vehicles a lot. Cadillac, Chevy means something. Cadillac means something. They use a lot of code words like that. Candy.
Why don't they just get on a cell phone or something to do that?
They don't. Well, they're not supposed to have cell phones in prison.
Why? They're not supposed to be smuggling stuff in on the wall phone though either, you know?
Yeah. I mean, if they had cell phones, they probably were. I never found a cell phone.
Really?
In jail.
Never?
I never found one. No.
Oh, they're all over the feds.
I had rumor that every jail I was at, they got a cell phone somewhere here. I never found one. I was never at a facility when they found one.
Interesting.
But did they have them? I'm sure they did. Sure they did.
Probably more of an issue now.
Probably more of an issue now.
What was your favorite investigation you worked?
Probably that one. The 262 grams of K2 was my favorite because it was so detailed. Well, the scalpel one too. I handed that over. I got the guy that sent that in too on the street, but they didn't do anything with him. They let him off the hook for whatever reason. Maybe he gave somebody up. I had another investigation where, like, I was told this hub has a particular inmate that is distributing all the synthetic marijuana. Like he's got this guy, and then they get into the jails or whatever. The main guy. That was a fun investigation. I found him. I just so many fun investigations, man. Like some of the ones that are inside the jail, I had informants that would tell me whoever was bringing shit in. Like I busted somebody almost every weekend bringing drugs into the facility. This one guy, crazy bastard. Like I would give the inmates a lot of chances too. Like if I knew you're bringing drugs in, if you're trying to solicit drugs into the jail, a lot of times I would tell you, hey, I know what you're doing. I know you're trying to get shit into my jail. I said, stop. I go, if you stop, we don't have an issue. I go, but if you continue to solicit and bring that shit in here, I'm going to get you. Some of them took heed to that advice. Some of them didn't. So this one particular guy, I'm like, look, I told him that. I'm like, I know you're trying to get shit in this weekend. I go, don't do it. I go, let somebody else do it. I go, don't do it because I will get you. He did it. So I was told the officer up front, I go, listen, when such and such gets an inmate or gets a visit in, I go, let me know when they get here. Just key your radio, say 49. I go, I'll know what that means. Got the call 49. So I call him up. I go, who's here to see him? He goes, his girlfriend and a baby. I go, who else? He goes, some tall white kid. Okay. So I come up. Now, whenever they bring drugs into the jail, you got to let them introduce it through the Sally Port. You can't get them in the lobby. They haven't introduced it into the facility. So you have no charges on them. So you have to let them get into the Sally Port. And that way they've introduced the drugs into the facility. So I had to wait till he got in there and time it just right so I would come up as he's passing through. Because if you miss him, then he's in. So I did. I got him. And I want to talk to you. So I took him to the office up front. I'm like, look it, man. And I did this to all of them. I go, look it, I know you have drugs on you. I don't know how much, and I don't know where you have it concealed. This particular guy was sitting there. I go, I know you have drugs. I don't know where you're holding it, though. He goes, hands me a bag of fucking weed. Of K2. I'm like, you gotta be kidding, man. I go, I know that's not all you got, though. He goes, his other fucking hand. I go, you gotta be kidding me. So I took him, confiscated him, right? And I'm like, listen, I go, how did you get them in through the lobby? He goes, I just held a fist the entire time. He goes, they were right in my hand the entire time. Nice. Good for you. He got 3 years.
3 extra years on the sentence?
No, he was a civilian. He was coming in from the outside.
Okay.
He got 3 years. And wow, that's fucking slick, man.
Would they go to that same prison or they go to a different prison?
No, they wouldn't send him there. No, he went to Elmira.
I heard that's a pretty decent spot.
Elmira?
Yeah.
I don't think you'd want to be there, Ian.
Oh, it's bad?
That's a bad place.
I guess I've heard mixed things then.
That's a bad place. And then I had, I bust a lot of women too. Like this one could have gotten away with it. This female, she was hired to bring it up, paid $200. The Bloods were sending the white kid down to get it off the dance floor in the visit room. So he's down there. I see him down there to visit. I see this chick walk in here. I'm like, oh man. So I go up, pull the kid out, take him into the strip room to have the officers contain him there. I told her, I go, listen, come with me. Now, anytime it's a female, you got to have a female officer that does the stripping, right? You can't go into a bathroom with a female visitor if you're a male. So I'm walking her up front, and I'm like, I have no females here today. I'm like, shit. So I'm just chatting with her. I'm going, listen, I go, I know you have K2 on you. I go, where is it? She goes, it's in my vagina. I go, okay. I go, listen, this is what I'm going to do for you. I go in the bathroom and pull it out. I go and wrap it in a paper towel and bring it out to me. I go, and if you do that, it'll go a lot better for you when I report this to the state police. She goes, okay. She does it. Like, I thought she would go in there and just flush it. She does it. She pulls it out and brings it back out to me.
She should have flushed it.
She should have flushed it. I'm like, why didn't you? I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, why didn't you flush that?
And will she get arrested right on the spot, or she goes home and you just get her information?
No, she get arrested right there.
Okay, so you have to wait for the state police to
I'll
come.
call the state police and have her contained there, have her stay there. Yeah,
What an idiot.
that's what I'm like. Man, she fucked up.
So there's nothing you could have done if she flushed it.
No, I couldn't have done nothing. I didn't see it. I didn't see the drug. I knew she had it, but how am I going to prove it? Right? It's not what you know; it's what you can prove. So. Yeah, that was a funny one. I had another older lady that come up, and I knew this kid was going to get her drugs and make her bring them up. And she comes up and she's like chatting with me. I pulled her in the office. I'm like, I know you have drugs on you, and I know you're bringing it to inmate so-and-so. I said, I just don't know how much you have, and I don't know how much they're paying you. She goes, oh. She goes, what does these bastards get me into? She started pulling drugs out. Like, I don't even think I arrested that lady. She was older. I felt bad for her, to be honest with you, man. I think I told the police, maybe she just needs an appearance ticket, and then she can write a check and whatever. But there's some of them. Like this one, I knew this one kid was having his grandmother bring Suboxone in all the time. Like, man, I don't want to hook his fucking grandmother, but I can't let her bring in Suboxone either. So I let him have his visit. I knew he was bringing it. He got away with it several times before I caught up with him. I was busy with Suboxone wasn't as bad as some other shit. But I got around to him. I'm like, all right. So he had his visit, and I went down to the block like a day after his visit. And I'm like, I need to take you to SHU. I'm doing an investigation on you. I'm going to lock you up 72 hours. If I don't find anything, free to go. I'm going to leave your shit right here on the block. You're all good. Get over to the dorm, get over to the SHU, do a strip frisk. I find nothing. I'm like, man, where's he got this shit? He had it in his fucking nose. I'm like, dude, you got Suboxone in your nose, don't you? He goes, yes, I do. I go, can you blow it out? He goes, yeah. I go, so I told the officer, I go grab one of the metal bedpans. So I brought it in. I go, can you blow it out into this bedpan? He goes, yeah. So he's like, the third one hit that fucking bedpan like a bullet. Fucking bounced off. It come out so hard. The third sneeze.
Do you ever look at these people and you're like, what are you doing?
Well, I pulled him aside later because he wanted to talk to me. So I had a conversation with him like, I know you've been doing this, man. I go, but I didn't want to hook your grandmother. I go, stop fucking making your grandmother bring shit into you. He goes, I have a drug problem. I go, but that's not my problem, man. I got to do my job. And you're smuggling and contraband. I said, but I didn't hook your grandmother. I don't use her again if you get out of here. So he went away.
Did the inmates ever utilize like the vending machines in the visiting rooms for smuggling?
Yeah, when I got there as a sergeant in this particular jail, the last jail I was at, I'll say, because I retired out of that jail. So when I got to the last jail, they were allowed to go up there and handle money and vending machine, but we put a stop to that. Some of the good officers in the visit room recommended that we change that policy. So I did. I agreed with them and changed that policy. So now the inmate couldn't even leave his table. He'd just point up. Well, at first there was a line around the vending machines. They could walk up to that and point to their visitors. I want this, whatever. Then I got to the point where they're still transferring shit up there. They sit at their table, and the visitor can just go up and bring them back. So we solved that little issue. Yeah, because I did find out when the inmates couldn't go up there, they were handing shit off all over the place. So I was losing track of where the drugs are.
Yeah, the way they did it where I was at is we couldn't get up from our seats. There was no tables. You couldn't get up from the seats, but your people would go to the vending machine and I guess leave something in there, and then the vending machine, the visiting room cleanup inmates would go and grab it from the machine later at the next day or whatever, or that evening.
They did that also.
Inmates are smart.
Yeah, they are smart.
But they always do get caught, though, too.
Most of them. There was a couple I knew was doing a lot of shit, and I never caught them. And there's one guy's funny because he was from Albany area, and I'm like, I tried to catch him. I couldn't. I don't think he was getting it in. I think he was distributing it, getting it in different ways, but I never caught him, and he was transferring out. I go, dude, just be honest with me. I go, I'm not going to hook you. I'm not going to pass any information on. I go, I just got to know. I go, were you soliciting and getting drugs in the facility? He goes, Yes, I was.
Could you also tell by their account activity on their books,
Yeah, the disbursement forms, you had
on
to
their
track
commissary
money.
books?
Yeah,
And
I tracked
everything?
money quite often to see how much they were making and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had to file. That was a pain in the ass following that paper trail, though. That was a pain in the ass.
Did doing this job ever make you want to do like a different type of law enforcement investigate, like maybe a cop or a detective or anything, or were you happy with this?
I think I could have been. Yeah, I think I probably should have done that, but I was enjoying what I was doing. I was making enough money. I was providing for my family. So at the point where I was at, where I thought about that, it was like that ship has sailed for me.
Why did you decide to retire?
So I decided to retire because I was a sergeant for 6.5 years and I was burned out. I was so busy, I was just burned out. And I was about to be promoted to lieutenant. So anytime you get a promotion in New York State, you go back on the road, right? And I didn't want to do that because I would have been back on the road for 2, maybe 3 years. So I did not want to do that. And I was burned out from being sergeant. So I went down to Albany, looked at my retirement numbers. I was satisfied with them. So I was like, I'm turning my paperwork in. I'm done.
How long from when you turn your paperwork in does it get approved and you can
So
actually
I turned
leave?
them in early March, and I retired May 18th of that same year, so 2 months.
Oh, so pretty quick turnaround time.
Yeah, you can do it in 30 days.
How does it feel when you're working, over 2 decades in a career like that, and then you retire, and then the next day you don't have to go to that career?
It feels like you're on vacation. It feels like you're on vacation for a while. Yeah, that's the hardest thing to get used to. It's like, oh, I got to get ready to work in the morning. And it's like, no, you don't. You got that butterfly in your stomach thinking you have to go, and then you don't. And the funny thing is, and I tell guys this, you will feel your body decompressing, from all the stress that you've endured over your career. You will literally feel that change in your body. And I felt that.
Do you miss it at all?
I did in the beginning. I missed all the action, the camaraderie with the officers. I missed that for the first year and a half, but now I absolutely do not at all.
Have you been able to find like hobbies to entertain yourself? Keep
Well,
you busy?
up to last year, I've played competitive softball, league softball tournaments, competitive volleyball tournaments. I golf. I've done martial arts. I opened up my own business a year ago, so I've been doing that. I've took on some part-time jobs, so I'm busy.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm very busy.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I don't just sit around, and so no.
What do you think working in corrections taught you about the criminal justice system?
It needs to be fixed. It needs to be fixed for everybody, staff and inmates alike. So in 2021, they passed, Governor Cuomo signed into law in March of 21 a HALT bill. Have you heard of the HALT bill?
No.
It's Humane Alternative to Long-Term Solitary Confinement is what it stands for. And what it does is it takes away the restriction time that inmates can do in SHU. So whereas if you assaulted staff or assaulted another inmate, you may be doing anywhere from 30 to 90 to 6 months in SHU time. Well, that's been completely eliminated. If you're over 55 years old, there's no SHU time. If you're under 18 years old, there's no SHU time. And if you assault someone, you're only doing about 15 days. And if you do 15 days, then you're going to an RU unit, a residential rehabilitation unit. And you're doing some programming there, and you're out of your cell for 6 hours a day or whatever. But that went into effect in 2022. So in 2021, it was signed. In 2022, the HALT bill went into effect. In 2022, they had more assaults on inmate than they've had in the history of New York State. In 2023, it raised at another 1,000, or 500 to 1,000. In 2024, the assaults from inmate to inmate went up again. So all that HALT bill did was give the inmates the freedom to assault people. It gave them the freedom to distribute contraband. It gave them the freedom to bring contraband into the facilities a lot easier, right? And there's a lot of inmates that don't agree with it. I think all the HALT bill did was help the inmates that are the assholes, the troublemakers, because the inmates that are trying to do their time, there's no repercussions for somebody that's fucking with you. None at all. I've had a lot of inmates during my course of time, especially as a sergeant, that would cut themselves with a can lid, either on their arm, I've had it in the face, to go to PC, protective custody, so they could get into protective custody, which would transfer them out to another facility. Self-imposed PC, if you will. I've had inmates want to check into PC. They can no longer do that. So to get into SHU, you have to commit a very violent act. And I think the HALT bill, although it may have been good intentions, it's done the complete opposite. And you asked me earlier about how stress is with officers, and if the low staffing has affected the way they do their job. Absolutely. They're under so much stress that it's reduced the amount of staff. There's nobody in the state of New York that wants to be a correctional officer anymore, and the guys that can leave are leaving. So they're so understaffed. Guys are getting stuck for 16 to 24 hours a day, having to work these long shifts, so they're stressed out, they're burned out. And who pays for that? Everybody pays for that. You know, it's not helping the inmates, in my opinion.
What do you think the solution is?
I agree that SHU, the Special Housing Unit, has been abused over the years. I think I'm probably guilty of this myself, as using it as a tool where it didn't need to be used. I will give them that. It's been abused. But I think there are circumstances where inmates still need to be in solitary confinement for longer than 15 days. Like when I worked in Sullivan Correctional as a sergeant, there was inmates in the BHU, the Behavioral Health Unit, that were doing shoe time for 20 years because of their actions. 20 years assaulting people, stabbing, cutting people up. And now those same inmates that were violated so bad that they're doing 20 years are doing 15 days, and they're back into population. You know what I mean?
What's your personal take on the shoe?
I think it's necessary. It's a tool that's necessary for disciplinary sanctions. I think you can alleviate a lot of the reasons for going to SHU. I think you can reduce a lot of the time, but I don't think you can completely abandon it like we almost have in New York State at this point. But I think it's necessary, and it's not like on TV. You didn't do any SHU time, right?
Yeah, I did like 6 months.
For what? Can I ask?
Yeah. So the first time I got caught on a video. My cellmates were wrestling, and I was like getting choked out on the video, and they had like gotten the phone when they raided the room and stuff. So they put us all under investigation, and then they were like, "We're gonna ship you to another low." So I got shipped to Danbury, which is like my hometown. But when you get shipped when you're in transit in the feds, if you come from the SHU while you're in transit, you got to get stuck in the SHU. So I got stuck in Philly for 6 weeks during transit because then the hurricane happened in Puerto Rico. So I was stuck there. Then I finally make it to Danbury. I'm on the yard in Danbury, and they SIS, which is like your division, but in the federal facilities, on the investigation team, they locked me up, put me back in the SHU under investigation because I dated a guard's cousin. So they had to remove me from the compound. So I was stuck there another 3 months. And then I got shipped to Wisconsin. So both times I didn't really do anything wrong. I was just stuck there, and that was miserable. But I will say in Danbury, because I wasn't there on like a disciplinary issue, they let me be the orderly. So I got out and I was painting the cells.
Yeah, you were a reporter.
Yeah. I did the laundry. I was doing painting. I was delivering meals. So I got to do that, which helped. But
for sure.
Go miserable like that. And there would be guys in there 90, 120 days because they had limits, but they can get it. All it has to do is get kicked up to regional. And they approve it for over a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
But I just think it's crazy for the investigations, like how long people could sit in there for.
Well, we only had 72 hours for an investigation, which that's been eliminated.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're investigating an inmate, and a lot of times it's for their own safety, because I've had hits put on inmates before, and I put them in 72-hour investigations so they didn't get hit. So it can be for their own safety. But they've eliminated that. But that was necessary, though, in a lot of cases. 72-hour investigations were very important at times. And now you don't have that. So if an inmate's going to get hit, he's going to get hit. And there's nothing you can do about it, really, right? You can't protect him. That's another thing I like about max jails, too, is you can still actually, unless they burn them out or whatever, which happened all the time, too.
Yeah, I think there just needs to be some type of balance. There's definitely excessive use of it, but it also, I don't know if it necessarily needs to go away completely.
Yeah, I agree with you. There needs to be better balance with it. I think there needs to be more incentives for inmates because doing long-term SHU, Ian, it's not that high of a bar. You know what I mean? You can do your bid without going to SHU, right? If you go to SHU, you've more than likely been an asshole or got caught up in shit, which does happen a lot. It's not that high of a bar to stay out of SHU. But if you do end up in SHU, 20 years was way too long. A year is too long. I agree with that. It's got to be scaled back from what it was for sure. But I think they overkilled it. And now it's just made everything so dangerous.
Yeah, my question is for like the advocates that are like very anti-SHU. It's like, all right, if someone stabs someone, What do you do with that person that stabbed that inmate? Where is he going in that moment when he does the stabbing, and then how do you prevent that from happening?
Well, that stabbing, he would still go to SHU in that case for 15 days, and he would be out. But I think there needs to be more incentives in the prison system, to be honest with you. I think we need more. We were talking about trailers earlier. I think that needs to be expanded. I think you need to offer that more to inmates. I think you need maybe a couple of honor jails, if you will. If an inmate does his bid and he's doing it the way you should do it, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe he should get more privileges and go to another facility and have your own cooking devices, have your own shit, have more rec, have more phone time, have those privileges. I don't understand why you can't do that, because you've got inmates that are doing their bid for 20 years and they're towing the line and doing exactly what they do. They're going to get caught up with these jackasses that don't care about anybody's bid, right? And then they get short and they're getting caught up in it too. So
yeah,
I don't know, man. More incentives, I think, would help. A little bit longer SHU time with assaults. And so they had the assaults I was telling you, it increased every year. And a lot of those assaults, I can tell you as a sergeant, there's a lot more assaults that happen inside a prison that aren't recorded. Like if I come up and assaulted you and you fought back, well, now it's a fight. Mm-hmm. You know, it's getting written up as a fight. It's not getting written up as an assault most of the time. They still may write it up as an assault depending on the situation, but a lot of times they won't. So there's probably another 400 or 500 assaults that happen that we don't even hear about.
Yeah.
But the SHU time, and I've never done it, so I can't relate personally about how much it sucks. No doubt it does. But it's not like you see on TV, though. They get visits. They get visits on the weekends from their family. The chapel stops by, the counselor stops by, the sergeant stops by 3 times a day, the lieutenant 3 times a day, the captain. They're getting people stopping by and talking to them, right?
Yeah, we had that. Visits were in on the weekends. It was just like a Monday was an off day, and you could only get it for an hour. And then rec was just 5 days a week for, I think it was an hour or 30 minutes. And then showers were 3 times a week.
Yeah, showers 2 or 3 times a week, 3 times a week. They get rec every day.
Even on the weekends?
Yeah, they get rec on the weekends.
Oh, we didn't get
the visits
that.
are all day long, well, from like 8 to 2.
Okay. Yeah. Sounds like a better situation than in the feds.
Yeah, I mean, you're getting out of your cell a little bit more, but now they're getting out of their cell 6 hours a day. So,
yeah,
they're doing 15 days, and then they're getting out of the cell for 6 hours, which I don't know, man. It's just, I agree with you. Some things have got to change, though.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, and then I started my security business when I retired, Black Ops Security and Investigations.
Do you have a website for it? I
had a website for a year. It got absolutely zero traffic, so I'm not paying for it anymore. I have an email.
Okay.
It's blackopsnny@gmail.com.
We'll put that in the bio, too, at the episode.
Okay, that sounds good.
What kind of security do you do?
So we do events. We do weddings, if they're a high-profile wedding or if it's a wedding at a particular venue that has no staff there after a certain hour, we're there for that. We do, like, the big poker run. Irish festivals, concerts, smaller concerts and venues. Pretty much it. We'll do personal security, we'll do escorts, serve papers, things like that. Investigate for you.
Well, I know who to go to for private security now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because Matty Ice doesn't cut it sometimes. He's like a deer in headlights, You got to be careful. But we got Bella as our guard dog.
Yeah, she's a good girl, though. She'll take care of you.
Yeah, she's getting better. You. Sometimes she'll sit with me in my lap and like for the whole interview.
Oh, that's cool.
She actually likes doing it. I've had a couple interviews. That guy that you watched his episode from New York.
Yeah.
She was on my lap the whole time.
I recall that now, yeah.
Yeah, she's cute. I was shocked that she was able to sit like that.
She laid right there. Didn't make
sometimes
any
she snores
fuss.
and I have to wake her up.
Yeah, made no fuss at all.
Yeah, but Randy, thanks so much for coming on the show today, man.
Of course. Thanks for having me, Ian.
See, you were worried you weren't going to have much to talk about and you ran for an hour.
Oh, there's a lot of
minutes.
shit I still want to talk about. We can do it in part 2 of this. We're not going to, but no, there's a lot of things that I thought I would be talking about today that I never got to.
Yeah, well, you did a great interview, man, and I appreciate you coming on the show.
All right. Thank you.
Awesome.